Success doesn't begin with money, fame, or opportunity. It begins with truth. Successful people understand that the most powerful story they can tell is their own. Unedited, unfiltered, unapologetic. They don't waste time trying to erase their past or pretend it didn't happen. They don't build a fake version of themselves to impress people who never mattered. They know that power doesn't come from perfection. It comes from honesty. It comes from standing in front of the mirror, seeing everything, the wins, the wounds, the regrets, and saying, this is me and I'm still standing. Shame wants you to shrink. It wants you to hide the parts of you that didn't go as planned. It wants you to stay quiet about the mistakes, the moments you felt weak, the times you fell short. And when you give into that voice, when you tuck away your truth, hoping no one notices, you give up your power. Because what you won't face, you can't fix. And what you won't acknowledge will always control you. Successful people don't run from their history. They use it. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes a setup for growth. Every chapter, no matter how messy, is a part of the masterpiece. They know that what tried to break them became the very thing that built them. They don't just tolerate their scars. They respect them. Because every scar means they survived something. The difference between someone who rises and someone who disappears is how they handle their truth. Ashamed people believe that their story disqualifies them. They think their past is a prison, something that defines what they can never be. So they wear masks, they build walls, they stay silent, hoping no one sees what's underneath. But the world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the real one, the version that's been through something and got back up, the one who failed publicly but didn't quit, the one who carries their truth with pride, not as a burden, but as a badge. You don't inspire people by pretending. You inspire them by showing up fully as you are. And when you own your story, shame loses its grip, fear loses its voice, and you become unstoppable. Success isn't built in silence. It's built in moments of courage, not when everything feels easy. But when your chest is tight, your hands are trembling, and your voice is barely steady, that's when it matters. Successful people speak even when their voice shakes because they understand one simple truth: silence protects your comfort, but speech protects your future. Speaking up isn't about volume. It's not about being the loudest in the room or the most confident. It's about choosing truth over fear. It's about standing up when your knees want to buckle and saying what needs to be said, especially when you feel like nobody will listen, because it's not the reaction of others that defines you. It's the bravery you show in the face of uncertainty. Successful people speak their vision before it's visible. They speak about their dreams before anyone agrees with them. They don't wait for applause before they take the stage. They say, this is where I'm going. Even when others laugh, doubt. That voice, the one inside that says, this matters to me, they listen to it. And even when that voice trembles, they let it be heard. Ashamed people stay quiet. They've convinced themselves that their voice is a liability. That speaking up will expose them. That if they just stay in the background, stay agreeable, stay small, they'll avoid judgment. But avoiding judgment also means avoiding growth. You can't reach your next level if you're afraid to be seen and heard as you are. The truth is, your voice is one of your greatest weapons. Not because it's flawless, but because it's yours. No one else can tell your story, defend your worth, or express your dream the way you can. And the longer you stay silent, the more disconnected you become from that power. Successful people don't need the world to believe in them first. They speak as if the world already does. They speak to create movement. They speak to create identity. They speak to draw the line between who they used to be and who they're becoming. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when their voice shakes. Because they understand that silence may feel safe, but it's not strength. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments they wish they could take back. But what separates successful people from those who stay stuck is how they respond to those moments. Successful people don't drown in guilt. They choose growth. They take responsibility without self-destruction. They learn without lingering. They move forward while others freeze in place, trapped by the weight of shame. Guilt has a purpose when it leads to awareness, when it makes you pause, reflect, and realign. But when guilt turns into identity, it becomes poison. Ashamed people carry guilt like a chain. They rehearse their mistakes over and over again, as if repeating the pain somehow pays for it. But pain without progress is just punishment. And no one builds a better life by punishing themselves for who they used to be. Successful people see mistakes as information, not condemnation. They ask the hard questions. What went wrong? What did I miss? What can I do better next time? Then they apply it, they act, they adjust, they grow. They don't stay frozen at the scene of the failure, reliving it, regretting it, or defining themselves by it. They turn the page. They let the past become a chapter, not the whole book. Ashamed people get caught in the cycle. They overanalyze every wrong move. They let guilt silence their ambition and shrink their sense of worth. They stop trusting themselves, and when you stop trusting yourself, you stop taking bold steps. You stop taking risks. You stop chasing what you were made for, because all you see is what you messed up. Growth requires grace, not excuses, but understanding. Understanding that you are not the same person you were when you made that mistake. That every failure, every fall, every wrong turn is fuel, if you let it be. Successful people allow themselves to evolve. They don't chain themselves to a version of who they were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago. They adapt. They rise. They shift into the next version of themselves with intention and courage. Choosing growth over guilt means realizing that guilt doesn't fix the past. Only action shapes the future. And action can only happen when you stop judging yourself and start building again, even with shaky hands and uncertain steps. One of the most dangerous habits of the ashamed is waiting. Waiting to be chosen. Waiting to be validated. Waiting for someone else to say, yes, you're good enough now. But successful people don't wait for permission. They give it to themselves. They don't ask the world to approve of their goals. They don't need an invitation to show up as who they are. They move forward without waiting for applause, agreement, or guarantees. Waiting feels safe, but it's an illusion. It's a mask fear wears. I'll start when I feel ready. I'll try when they support me. I'll speak when they ask me to. This mindset becomes a cage, and the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move at all. Ashamed people convince themselves they're being patient, when in reality they're postponing their own power. They trade progress for hesitation, hoping the world will one day hand them the green light they already had all along. Successful people don't operate on someone else's timeline. They know that most people will not understand their vision at first. They know that the moment they step out of line, there will be critics. But they don't wait to be accepted before they act. They understand that leadership doesn't come from permission. It comes from decision. They decide who they are. They decide what they want. And then they move even when no one claps, follows, or agrees. There is no gatekeeper to your potential except the one you've created in your mind. Ashamed people hand the keys to their life to other people. Their boss, their parents, their friends, even strangers. They wait for someone else to say, you're allowed to dream this big, but that voice may never come. And even if it does, it won't change how you see yourself. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is coming to declare you worthy. That moment, the one you're waiting for, where someone tells you it's finally your time, it's not a real moment. It's a distraction from the truth that your time has always been now. Successful people don't wait to feel perfect before they move. They don't wait for credentials to act like they belong in the room. They step into the room, own their space, and prove they were never asking for permission in the first place. Fear is not the enemy. The lie is that you have to get rid of it before you move. The lie is that confidence comes first and courage comes easy. But successful people know the truth. You don't wait to feel fearless before you act. You act while afraid. You move while uncertain. You build while doubting. Because waiting for fear to disappear is the fastest way to stay stuck forever. Ashamed people believe fear is a stop sign. They feel it rise in their chest and take it as proof they're not ready. Their heart pounds, their stomach tightens, and they retreat. They tell themselves, I'll try once I feel stronger. But that day never comes. Fear isn't a signal to stop. It's a sign that something matters. The presence of fear doesn't mean something's wrong. It means something's real. And successful people lean into that. Taking action while afraid means showing up before you feel fully qualified. It means launching before everything is perfect. It means having the conversation, stepping into the room, posting the idea, applying for the opportunity, not because you're sure of the outcome, but because growth demands movement. Fear tries to talk you out of your own potential by convincing you to delay. But delay is where dreams go to die. You don't outgrow fear by waiting. You shrink it by walking through it. Fear lives loudest at the beginning. It screams the most when you're about to step into something that could change your life. But the moment you move, even one step, its voice starts to fade. Action is what transforms fear into momentum. Every small step chips away at the doubt. Every uncomfortable move proves to yourself that fear doesn't own you. And the more you act, the more you realize that fear was never as big as it felt. Ashamed people often confuse fear with failure. They think that feeling nervous means they're not ready. But readiness isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to go forward anyway. Successful people accept that fear is part of the journey. They bring it along for the ride, but they don't let it drive. They make bold decisions not because they're fearless, but because they've learned that courage only shows up after action begins. Fear is loud, but your purpose is louder. When you choose to move, success doesn't belong to the fearless. It doesn't belong to the flawless. It belongs to the ones who choose truth over image, action over hesitation, and growth over guilt. The ones who speak up even when their voice shakes. The ones who move even when their knees tremble. The ones who stop waiting for someone to tell them they're ready and decide to rise on their own terms. Shame keeps you quiet. It keeps you small. It convinces you that your past disqualifies you, that your voice doesn't matter, that your dreams are too much. But shame is a liar. And the only way to silence it is to show up anyway. Own your story. Speak your truth. Move while afraid. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels easier, but now. Because your life doesn't change when you're finally free of fear. It changes the moment you stop letting fear make your decisions.